everybody, today we're going to be talking all about gathering and crafting with the upcoming release of Sage Labs for Star Atlas. Sage Labs is going to be huge when it releases here in a week or two, hopefully, because it's going to make the whole player base economy just blow up. We're going to go from our current 4 resources to we're going to have like 9 resources and all kinds of crafted materials. Each one of these you'll be able to buy, sell, and trade. Each one of these will have a different cost associated with as far as how much fuel, food, ammo it takes to gather these, the time associated with crafting everything. So all of it's going to have an opportunity cost, and it's going to be the largest player base driven economy in the Web3 gaming space. So Star Atlas is doing some really cool things, and if that's something you're interested in, then think about subscribing to my channel, because that's all we talk about here. And then you can also check out my guide, the Star Atlas Maximum Profits Guide, because it highlights the best ways to earn Atlas in-game and, well, maximize your profits while playing a game. So if that's something you're interested in, check out the link in the description below, and you can use the discount code ATLAS to receive 50% off. But let's dive into the video here. So these right here are the different resources we'll be able to gather when Sage Labs releases. And these are going to be spread out throughout the galaxy in different sectors on different star bases. So everything on the left column here is going to be the resources that we can gather. And then the yellow things right here are all the resources we currently use to operate our ships, such as food, fuel, ammo. These are the things that we've been using for well over a year now in faction fleets. But you won't be able to just gather food or ammo. You'll have to gather the resources and then craft it into ammo and fuel and so on and so forth. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to gather them, what are some strategies of which ones you might want to gather, and then we're going to talk about some of these other craftable materials, and also talk a little bit about toolkit and what the prices of toolkit might do. So to begin with, in Sage Labs, toolkits are off the table, at least this first part, because we won't be in combat, our ships won't be getting destroyed. Well, there is a way, but it's not through combat, and so we won't need toolkits. So I'm just saying right now, toolkits, as you can see, is a tier 3 crafting material. Like, it's the hardest one to get out of all of these, and it's the one that we won't be needing to be used. So as people take their ships out of faction fleet, and the CS, the claim stakes, are still going to be producing these cool toolkits each and every day, we'll be racking up toolkits without the need to use them. And at least in this first part of Sage Labs, the prices of these are just going to drop like crazy. You can mine the ore, craft it into iron, craft the steel, and create your toolkits. But I don't see it being very profitable right now, because I see the prices of these dropping and dropping quite a bit. Now, I can't predict the future, but the fact that the supply is going to stay stable and that the demand is going to drop to basically zero, one can infer that the prices are going to drop and they'll be basically useless. And so you can still do it, but there might be better things to mine and gather and craft. So we'll talk about some of those. Next, you have ammo. You see ammo is over here in the second tier of crafting, which means you can't just gather the resource and craft it into the ammo. You have to gather the copper ore, craft it into copper, and then craft it into ammo. So this just means basically twice as long crafting times for ammo as you do for food and fuel. If you have the dedicated people to craft that much, then good for you, go for it. But if you're someone with a really small fleet and you need to do the most amount as possible with your small fleet, then spending twice as long to craft something probably isn't going to be your go-to answer. Eventually, you will want to craft food and fuel and ammo and pretty much just be self-sustainable. But if you have something like a claim state pumping out ammo for you, and the main thing you might want to go for it is not ammo. However, you run out of ammo, you can no longer gather anything, because The ammo is how you gather. Basically, your ship goes to these asteroids and blasts them into little chunks, and you gather the resources that way. No ammo, no blasting, no resources. So it is necessary, but it does take twice as long crafting. So that leaves us with food and fuel. Now, both of these are you gather the resource and you craft it. So that part, they're on par with each other. You gather the hydrogen, you craft it into fuel. You gather the biomass, you craft it into food. Simple. The difference between these is, like I said, with no ammo, you can't gather anything because you don't have ammo to blast these asteroids. Same thing with no food, you can no longer be gathering any resources because it's kind of like your crew is too hungry to work. Um, no food, they go on strike and stop working. I don't blame them. So you do need food. However, they just stop working and then you can go back to your base and drop off your resources, stock up on food again, and you're good to go. If you run out of fuel, now this is a big one. If you run out of fuel, like boom, game over. Your ship can't get back to any starbase or the CSS. Your ship is just stranded there. You basically have to self destruct, lose all of your resources. That's the food, that's the ammo, and that's anything else that you've been gathering during your trip. You lose all your resources, you self destruct, and you have to wait a cooldown timer to respawn at the nearest starbase. And losing your fuel, having no fuel, would be the biggest loss that you can have out of anything on this table. So fuel, I would say, is the most important. And because you can get fuel just as easy as you can food, and you can get it easier than you can ammo or toolkits or anything else that's basically optional. Now, obviously, you want to go for this kind of stuff, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But just to get set up and basic and get going, you're going to need fuel. Fuel is your number one. And then food is easy. And then ammo, twice as long crafting, but you do need it. So that would be the order. Now, what you could do is harvest exclusively fuel and then sell it and then buy the food and ammo with the profit that you sold this for. That's the route you could go instead of trying to do this all yourself, because eventually in game you're gonna have to niche down to one specific resource, or you could drop this and then go to this. But for the most part, you can do one at a time. If you have enough shifts, you can break it up and be gathering this and this at the same time. And then if you have enough crew member, be crafting both of them at the same time. But I'm talking about like small, you're starting out, you only have a couple of ships. I would aim for fuel first and then work your way up from there. Now, some of these other things, you can go anywhere and you can start gathering. The farther out you go into the MRZ zone, the medium risk zone, the more richness of the asteroids for the resources. And what I mean by richness is, let's say you're blasting away at biomass, and let's just say, for example, you get 100 biomass per minute at richness level 1. If the richness was level 2, instead of 100 per minute, you'd be getting 200 per minute. If it was 3, you'd be getting 300 per minute. These aren't definite numbers. These aren't how much you'll actually be getting. But for example, to make it easy so that you can grasp the concept, the higher the richness, the more resources you get during the same amount of time while you're gathering. So you want the higher richness, and it's actually going to be worth going out to the MRZ zone to get this higher richness. If you can find something with a hardness of 1, because that's another thing, hardness makes it more difficult to farm. Richness means you get more of it. So if you can find something with the same level of hardness but a larger richness, which is only going to be found farther out into the cosmos, you can gather more quicker and end up earning more off of that. But it's going to take more fuel to get out there. So fuel, I think, is what is going to be the most used resource. And it's also the most necessary resource, or else you get stranded and you have to self-destruct and that whole scenario. So if you're just wondering like where to go, where do you even start with all of this, that's something you can start with. Now I'm going to pull up a map of the galaxy here, and basically you have like the different Oni sections. You got the different booster section and the mud section, and then you can see as you go farther out, it's all MRZ, and that's the medium risk zone. So if you're in a sector that says Oni, booster, or mud, you're going to be getting the smaller amount of richness and so smaller amount of resources, but you are closer to the CSS because that's going to spawn in the middle. And then as you go out farther, you're going to have to take more food and more ammo and definitely more fuel so that you can be self-sustainable without having to make so many trips back and forth, because that's going to cost you the more trips back and forth that you make. Once you do get out there, you can just kind of station at a star base that's out there and you can set up camp. And as long as you have food, fuel, and ammo, you can go after any resource you want that's out there, and you'll be able to collect more because, as I said, the richness will be higher. However, it's important to note that you have to drag all of this back to the CSS at the very starting location to be able to actually withdraw it back into your wallet and onto the marketplace if you want to sell anything. So that's something to keep in mind. And while we're on that topic, don't just go back out there and start gathering again. Make it worth it. If you have claim stakes, these claim stakes are going to be pumping out food and fuel and ammo every single day. So for each trip you make back to the CSS, you might as well stock back up with your resources that you get naturally from your claim stakes and bring it out. Now, if you don't have claim stakes, you can always buy these resources on the marketplace, or you'll have to create your own system to be self-sustainable on the maps in Sage Labs. But moving on to these different materials, so you can actually craft these different things like electromagnet, electronics, power source, radiation absorber, particle accelerator. And why would you even want to do it? Well, because all of the redemption tokens and the golden tickets and stuff is going to require these materials to craft. So in Sage Labs, you'll be able to redeem prizes, and these prizes can be like ships, from the small ships like the Fimble Airbites and the Pierce X4 to larger ships that cost like literally thousands of dollars. And it's going to require these end of the line crafting material that's in blue here. And then it's also going to require SDUs. If you want to know more about SDUs, I made a whole video about it. I spent like 20 minutes talking exclusively on SDUs, so you can check that out. But to redeem these ships, and I think there's like CSS Home Base 1 and Home Base 2, stuff like that. To redeem all of these, it's going to require these blue materials that's at the end of the line. And so that's why you would want to gather the materials to craft all of these. And even if you don't end up using them, other people will, so you can sell them for Atlas and then cash the Atlas out to your bank account, or reinvest the Atlas to buy more ships, or do whatever you want with them. Or just hoard them because you know in the future we're going to have more recipes, more things you can build and craft that's going to require these resources. So hoarding them wouldn't be bad, but short term, selling them for Atlas to get things that you actually want, or redeeming them for prizes. That's about it for this video on crafting and gathering in Sage Labs. I hope it kind of gave you a starting point. If you're just like, I'm excited for Sage Labs, but I don't even know what to do once I get in there, hopefully this gives you some ideas of what you might want to do when Sage Labs starts, and kind of help you get started off on the right foot. Once again, if this is the kind of stuff that you like, subscribe to my channel, because that's what we do here. We talk about Star Atlas, we talk about maximizing our profits, and if you want to know the best way to maximize your profits, again, my guide is going to be in a link in the description below. You can use the discount code ATLAS to get it for 50% off. Honestly, if you get it right now, you get all the information up front. You could probably earn, not probably, you'll earn that back in the time of Sage Labs. So I definitely think it would be a good investment. Check it out. You don't have to, but it's there if you want it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.